Prepare to be captivated by the business story of the week, hosted by me, Shaheen Shan. Join us on a journey through the twists and turns of entrepreneurial triumphs and setbacks. Immerse yourself in the narrative and witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. This is Business Story of the Week.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Business Story of the Week. I am your co-host, Joshua. And every day we get right into the nitty-gritty and the details of business, entrepreneurship, innovation to get you going on that next journey of yours. And today we have quite the titan, the guest. When it comes to this journey of yours and your entrepreneurship and your business, we can get a lot of wisdom, insight from Adrian Kay-ler, the founder and managing partner of Take New Ground. He is a leadership expert, a leadership engagement expert dedicated to empowering fast-moving founders, executives, much like our listeners today. Through his coaching consulting firm, Adrian helps leaders break through obstacles, cultivate unstoppable teams, and create unprecedented results. With a background in challenging environments, Adrian thrives on difficult conversations and employs a no nonsense approach to leadership to help individuals take new ground in their lives. Adrian, I'm really not going to do a longer introduction than that because, I'm not going to do that much justice of what you've done in life. But thank you so much for being here today and for being with us. How are you doing?
I'm great, Josh. Thanks for having me on, man. Excited to be here. This is a great podcast. Thank you to all the listeners for absorbing this and listening in. I hope I can provide some value that makes something better.
Oh, fantastic. And we're really excited for that. I'm actually really excited for this as well. But Adrian, I like to always go back. I like to start these things from the beginning. Um, how did your journey begin? Where did Adrian Kay-ler start his entrepreneurial journey, or anything that probably happened in your childhood, anything throughout the path,
Sure.
which led you here today in leadership coaching?
Yeah. Well, I'll try to be brief because I know we're sprinting today. So
Of course.
I didn't grow up in an environment of entrepreneurship. My parents were both school teachers, but what they did is they were very involved in the community. I came from a very small town, and they're icons in that community. They actually they're about to have their 50th anniversary, and my brother and I are planning a surprise celebration for them. And I was just calling the local newspaper, and I said, "Hey, I want to put this ad." It was like, "Oh, no, Jim and Angie Kay-ler, they've changed this city. You take as much space in the newspaper that you want." So anyway, I came from people that were very committed to being good people, nobility and honor, and was a big part of who they are. We come from a spiritual background, and so some of those themes of ethics and being of service to others was always key and like chief in our family. And they were public servants and really trained several generations in that little small town. So I got to see that. And then I didn't know what I wanted to be. Didn't have an eye for entrepreneurship. Had an eye for service though, and I was going to maybe be a doctor. I decided not to go that route. Decided to go get a nursing degree in college. Took care of families in crisis and realized the science was in some ways easy for me. The relational side, that was the fun challenge, is like how good could you get at ordering chaos in a way that brought people together? And that had become a theme that really stuck with me throughout my whole career. Is like, can you step into chaos and order the chaos and also bring people together? And so I did that as a nurse initially. I was actually a pastor for several years and mobilizing about 3,000 people a year to go out and serve in the community. And then I ran a foundation. And that was a startup. We had some money in the bank and built a whole organization around transforming murderers in prison. So we had some leadership trainings in prison. I hired an expert that he knew what to do. I immediately became his mentee. And we trained these murderers in 3-day trainings, and would train them to be trainers and be change agents behind bars here in I live in California. And then out of that, I just decided what to do next. And I realized coaching was what I loved doing the most, and probably what I was most gifted at, which was having impactful conversations with people, helping people buddy up to the truth, even if it was ugly,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
take ownership of their actions, even if it was
Mhm.
tragic. And I've done that several times in my life, and so I don't run from my own dark side. So I've become very good at helping people not run from the dark side of life. Let's
Mhm.
get in there. Let's take a look. And there's actually value. I call it fire in
Yes.
the desert. There's beauty
Fire.
inside the barren places. And so I started my own company doing that. And that was about 12 years ago. And I've had several iterations of that company. And we've now grown and, have ownership in lots of companies that we work with. And I just love entrepreneurs. I mean, they're the lifeblood of
Mhm.
the economy for sure. And they're just the most
Mhm.
interesting people to be around. So I get to
Mhm.
coach fascinating, brilliant people all day
Mhm.
long that
Mhm.
don't need my help to be experts in their field, but do need my help to be experts
Mhm.
in generating a culture and generating a team that
Mhm.
can do those things you talked about, having an impeccable team, generating
Mhm.
unprecedented results. Business ought to be
Mhm.
really fun, but we have to like
Yes, sir.
really get a hold of our humanity. Otherwise, the
Mhm.
human side of us,
Mhm.
the insincere side, the insecure side, the
Yes.
fearful side, the survival,
Yeah.
all that stuff that we don't get a vote on. Everybody, including you and me, Josh, just want to survive at the end of
Mhm.
the day. So if we don't get a hold of that, then we're not going to have the lives we want and the results we want. So I'm thrilled to get to be an entrepreneur.
That's fantastic. Adrian, this is exactly what I was saying that I wanted the audience and listeners to see or what you've achieved, throughout your experiences, your extensive, you know, uh, achievements in life, and what a way to kind of round it out and transition it into entrepreneurship, into business.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that concept, fire in the desert. Um, Adrian, how do you think your approach differs from the traditional methods when it comes to leadership coaching and training? But I know you've mentioned a lot about working about the toughest, the darkest, side of humanity. How do you think? Tell us how that helped transition into training leaders and entrepreneurs.
Well, the human brain is wired to go find solutions, to find answers, to look
Yes.
for equations and mechanisms.
Mhm.
And a lot of leadership coaches, they're ready to just to deal all those out because people want to buy that. People want to buy an answer.
Mhm.
And it's amazing. I'm hearing roosters in the background. That's awesome. Um, that's awesome. It's beautiful. You said you were doing an early
Okay.
morning on your side. That's amazing.
Mhm.
I need some roosters around here. But most people that are leadership coaches are kind of in one of two camps. I would think one is like they're just going to go give answers. The other is they're going to give encouragement, and both of those are
Right.
necessary and they're helpful. They
Right.
just don't do the trick. So I
Mhm.
don't aim at answers. I aim at the right, most penetrating questions. And
Right.
yes, I do encourage my people, but I don't want to give cheap encouragement because you can't
Yes.
really give encouragement. Here's my take. You can't
Mhm.
give encouragement. You can affirm somebody and whatever. Courage, like
Mhm.
encouragement is when someone takes on courage. Now, like to inculcate, to live in courage. Well, how do you actually generate courage in someone? Well, that's you have to challenge them and
Yes.
believe in them beyond what they believe in themselves. So you need to listen and
Yes.
find all of their internal bullshit and then call it out and say, it's okay that you believe that. I just
Yeah.
don't believe it. I think you're greater than that.
Yes.
And that's going to
Of
generate
course.
crisis for them because now you're calling them into
Right.
risk. And
Mhm.
can they do something new that they've never done before, especially if they're used to being the smartest and most well put together person in the room?
Of
I'm
course.
going to invite them to be a rookie, and that's
Mhm.
risky. So
Mhm.
to get them to do that is actually what I do the best and do the most because I'm always listening for the conversations people don't want to have, and those are the
Mhm.
conversations I have.
And what a way to kind of transition that into a field of people who has that fire in them. Because entrepreneurs, to
Right
be
on.
an entrepreneur, you gotta be,
You better be crazy.
gotta
You
have
got to be crazy.
exactly. You gotta have
Yeah.
that mindset. And you seem to be like you're delivering this sort of message that they all need to hear. Um,
Yeah.
Tell us about Adrian. Tell us about like specific key strategies that you're looking for, like your what you do to employ this into founders, help them navigate the complexities of scaling, strong leadership, team cohesion. What are the specific strategies that you employ?
Yeah. Well, you always begin with clarity. And
Yes.
you need to always begin with, oh, perception. Now, this is going to seem a little
Mhm.
philosophical for a second, but it is really,
Okay.
if you don't get this straight, nothing else matters. Is
Yes.
that we live in these natural biases as human beings. And the number one human bias
Mhm.
is that I think you think the way I think. That's the number one human bias. Everybody has that. I see the world a certain way. Josh sees the world the same way. So that's
Yes.
a bias. It's not true, but we think it's
Yes.
true. We actually operate like it's true, and we prove it to be true.
Mhm.
And so that's the first thing, is to realize that I never know what's going on between your ears. I need to listen to you in such a way that I get the way that you see everything, that you see
Mhm.
yourself, you see the moment we're in, you see me,
Mhm.
you see the market, you see other people, you know, your view of trust, anyway, I need to understand your view of the world and give it, I guess, the dignity of its own, um, of your own style, right? And
Right.
understand that. Now, there might be things, the ways in which you're seeing that aren't resourceful to the future that you want,
Mhm.
you know, and we'll get
Right.
to that. But first off, got to
Mhm.
help people get a hold of current reality. And current reality, for
Mhm.
the most part, is the filter by which we view current reality.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
you know, life's
Exactly.
hard and people go through tough shit and people have, you know, difficult things from the past and difficult things
Mhm.
genetically that they can choose to overcome, or
Mhm.
not choose to overcome. That's always on the table as well. You can just become a victim of your history or a victim of your circumstance or of your family or whatever you want to choose to be a
Yes.
victim of. It runs your world. But that's where I need to start. First off, clear sense of where someone's coming from and honor that. Number
Mhm.
one. Number two is clarity about the future. It might be surprising to you, Josh. I'm done being surprised that even very successful people can be very confused about where they're going.
Right.
So simple questions about what key results are you committed to create in the next 6 months? That
Okay.
question, when asked specifically and demanded an answer, not like, you know, like I'm a jerk about it, but no. Let's just get this clear. What key results are you committed to create in the next 6 months? That baffles
Yes.
people because there's no
Yes.
wiggle room in
Yes.
that answer. It's not like, what are your
Mhm.
goals? People ask what their goals
Mhm.
are, which are usually nice, nice notions of what would be nice. Not
Mhm.
that. What key results are you committed to create? So as if you're talking to a key leader, get them really clear on that first. And then you have a
Right.
conversation about the organization. Now, all
Right.
inside those two questions, all of their judgments, their frustrations, their insecurities, their resignation, all that's going to come to the surface. Because
Wow.
when you start talking about the future, our hidden views start to be revealed because
Mhm.
now someone is at stake for the future. Like if they say, I'm going to double the income in the next 6 months, which is possible for most companies if you got committed, all of their concerns are going to come to the surface. They're going to come to the surface in a usually a less mature way. They're going to show up like resentments and judgments and all these types of things. But really, there's usually some
Right.
key concerns underneath that, things that
Of
need to
course.
be dealt with, things they've usually
Yes.
not dealt with for a long while before they come to me. People come to me when they've got a whole shit buffet in front of them, and they didn't deal with issues when they were a two
Yes.
course
Yes.
meal or even a shit sandwich or a shit hors d'oeuvre. So now they've got a shit
Yes.
buffet to deal with. So
Mhm.
ask those questions, their resistance will come up, and then you've got your to the core issues. It's never
Mhm.
about strategy. Their strategy might be off. It might be off, and maybe they've not
Wow.
been inventive,
Okay.
and that's great. We can get clear on a new
Mhm.
strategy, but if you put a new strategy in the thinking
Mhm.
that created and was satisfied with the old strategy, the new
Yes.
strategy is soon going to become just like the old strategy because
Precisely.
processes follow people.
Uh-huh.
So if
Uh-huh.
you've got somebody that's unclear or immature or impulsive, and you put a great grounded new strategy in, they're going to make it immature
Mhm.
and impulsive and all that.
Of
So
course.
you got to
Of course.
get people clear on where they're coming from and what they're committed to.
Mhm.
That's,
Mhm.
when you say what's a key strategy, it's really that. It's not as
Mhm.
sexy. People
Of
want a
course.
5 point plan. All of
Of course.
my all the magic in our work comes out in the power of a sincere, authentic conversation.
And the sincere way of looking inside, of course, is an
Right on.
internal, is an
It's an
internal
inside
aspect.
game.
Like precisely, because if you can't manage all that turmoil inside. Like you said, managing chaos. You want to manage chaos in your organization, your team, but you can't manage the chaos inside of you. What's the
Right
point,
on.
right? And
Right
your
on.
approach really involves delving deep into founders, who they are, what they genuinely stand for.
Right.
Is there anything that comes out to mind, like stories, like through this introspective journeys that in the role that you help them? Where does self awareness come in? And is there a story that comes into mind that stands out for you that you can tell us about a change, that when like one
Sure.
of these entrepreneurs that you coach?
Yeah. Well, where does self-awareness come in? I was just going to say, like, it's really the ball game. I suppose, I mean, there's lots of successful people that
Yeah.
aren't very self-aware, or they are self-aware and they just don't care. Most of the time when people say self-awareness, there's actually a natural endowment of like kindness or something. Like if someone was
Right.
self-aware, they'd be nicer to other people. Some people are
Hmm.
self-aware and they just don't care about other people. They're just, and it could
Yes.
be
Yes.
they're just committed to this outcome. And if these people don't get on board, F them, get out of here. And they
Mhm.
just don't
Yeah. Yeah.
care. That's one way to
Mhm.
live. I mean, I would offer that you can get both. You can be that committed to an outcome and
Mhm.
actually committed to relational health simultaneously. It's more
Yes.
complex for people when they think about, they say derogatory terms like I'm not here to babysit, or I'm not here to be their therapist or something like that, which is a way to eh, pardon me, escape, the
Yes.
potential responsibility.
Responsibility. Yes. Hmm.
They'll be derogatory about it. So,
Hmm.
but self-awareness is, if someone is, well, I'm going to be a nerd here for a second. So,
Go
which
ahead. Go ahead.
self are we talking about? Here's the question. Which self are we talking about when we say self-aware? So, I would say that there's like this consistent openness that's necessary for someone to be authentically and effectively self-aware. Now I'm being a nerd, so
Hmm.
be with me for a second. If I'm
Good stuff.
self-aware, most people think, "Oh, I know myself." But even that is shy because there's no Josh that's always existing. You're not the exact same Josh in every situation. You're not the exact same
Yes.
Josh every year. You're not the exact
Uh-huh.
same, Josh in the same context. There's all these different Joshes inside of you. We could just if I followed you around with a camera around different people, different Josh would show up, or in different situation. One where you're relaxing, that's one Josh, or one where you're in crisis, that's another Josh. So it's
Hmm.
not like I need to know myself. I need to be committed to discovering myself and then guiding myself or governing myself in order to match what's wanted and needed for the moment that I'm in. So it's kind
Right.
of self-awareness, kind of, and it's also self-governance, or what I closer to
Self
call
governance.
self-mastery. So
There you go.
self-awareness isn't enough, and it might actually get us off the hook because I might say, oh, no, that's not who I am, which is a
Hmm.
historical definition of myself, instead of being always present to the Adrian that's showing up and governing myself whenever that version of me doesn't serve the future I say I'm committed to, but I can get myself in line and lead myself. So
Hmm.
it's essential. It's just more complex than people want to talk about. And I don't point out the
Right.
complexity to be a weirdo. I just,
Of
because
course.
most people get stuck because they get a definition of themselves and then other people don't agree with them. Well, because other
Hmm.
people don't see you the way you see yourself. So
Of course.
part of self-awareness is others' openness. Like, okay, I say I'm like this, Josh. What do you think? Like,
Right.
what's your experience of me? Like that level of
Hmm.
humility, great leaders will do that. Um,
Hmm.
Now, you asked like some specific story or some question from my life. I Most founders, I'll make it a little more general for the sake of my clients, but most founders, they're obviously very psychologically tied to their mission.
Hmm.
And I think that's
Yes.
necessary because it's kind of who they are.
Very
And they've sold
necessary.
it and they've leveraged their whole network and it's their whole identity.
Yes.
That's
Of
nice. I
course.
mean, that's necessary usually.
Hmm.
And most of them are extremely scared of giving up control and letting someone else come in and run the company, for fear. Well, number one, it's their baby. Number two, it's, they
Yes.
don't think other people will get it, and they won't get it to the level
Right.
they do from a brand perspective, because
Of
if you
course.
start a company, the brand is usually a big part of you.
Yes.
So it is hard, but a lot of times leaders will come to an epiphany, and I always joke that when a leader has an epiphany, they're the last one to the party. Like everyone else already knows what's going on, and then a leader
Mhm.
finally, you know, it strikes them like lightning, like, oh, hey, you know what, I'm not that good at running finances, and they finally
Hmm.
say it. But the whole team has known this forever, and they talk about it at the water
Right.
cooler and talk shit about it and
Mhm.
whatever. So that those types of epiphanies happen all the time, and I always just want to give space for a founder to, hey, get off of this I got to be all things to all people thing. Like, you're not going to do it, and you're not great at
Yeah.
everything. There's a handful of
Good
things you're
question.
really good at. You'd be served,
Yes.
and your whole company would be served if you just let yourself do what you're great at, and then hire other people to come in and be great at the stuff you're not great at. Like, you're not losing if
Fantastic.
you hire people that are smarter than you, and that's a tough
Right.
one for a lot of folks
Precisely.
to swallow.
Precisely, and I love that last part there. You're not losing if you hire people, to do some stuff for you. You actually win more. You actually give people
Oh yeah.
that room to be leaders themselves. And I want to go quite, a bit back to what you said, self governance to self mastery, because different versions of us appear in different situations, and it's self mastery involves knowing when these versions appear. I love that, and it resonates
Yeah.
with me because I have this issue about self awareness where I'm like, um, yeah, it's nice to be self aware, but then what do you do with that? You're always
Then
just
what?
self
Yeah.
aware all the time. Then what, right?
Yeah.
I think we're not really taught like that from self awareness. You should go from self awareness to self mastery. I love that.
Yeah.
Adrian,
Yeah.
as we're nearing the wrap up of this, I always like to ask this question in a sort of a roundabout way, in that you've gone through all these challenging environments, all these difficult conversations. Um, what are throughout your experiences and from the career that taught you these valuable lessons? Um, what are these lessons that you would like to share that will help, in the future? To be more precise, let's put it this way: what is the future for Adrian Kay-ler, and how do you see leadership coaching shaping the lives of individuals and improving? And what would be, that lesson that we could take with us today?
Wow. Well, that's fun to think about. Um, so what's my future, and how do I think leadership coaching's going to affect the future? Um,
Precisely.
you know, I think I'll always be doing something like this,
Right.
and probably just more and more focused over time. So
Right.
I'm actually starting a new show called Fire in the Desert. So I'm going to spend time with, very with successful people and talk about how they fucked their lives up at times and what was happening
Mhm.
during that time, so we can really do
Mhm.
some diagnostic about how do we all self-betray. Not like, do
Mhm.
we? Of course we do. If we're at risk for something, we're going to do that. But like, let's walk through how someone does that, and then how we put our
Mhm.
lives back together and reconstitute ourselves
Yes.
on the backside. I think that'd
Oh,
be helpful for people, because everybody
yes.
is either on their way up or on their way down. I mean, you don't live at the
Yes.
mountaintop, you don't live in the valley. You're either on your climb or you're on your way down. Be good to give
Mhm.
some language for how to stabilize yourself if you're in self-destructive mode, even if it's like minor right now. Little things become big things. So
Mhm.
I'm going to go deeper in these conversations and really how to help people master themselves on
Mhm.
a soul level. So that's where I'm headed.
Wow.
And the same part, I
Mhm.
I love one of my biggest passions in life is to connect people. I
Mhm.
and I think the future of I don't know about the future of leadership coaching, because I don't think most coaches play this game.
Yeah.
But in a world that's more and more unpredictable, like we're in now, and
Mhm.
it's more and more chaotic and is full of deception, trust is
Mhm.
going to be the biggest thing. Always, trust is going to be the biggest thing. So, who do I trust in a world full of zombies or a world full of vultures? Who do I trust? People that are just dead and apathetic, or people that are actually out for your evil, or out for bad, out for evil? Who do you trust? So I love building communities of like-hearted people. I was going to say like-minded, but more it's like like-hearted, like people that want to live with integrity. And that
Mhm.
really means about consistent honesty, not like being a good person, because we're all
Of
mixed.
course.
We're all good and bad and whatever. But people that actually want to live with integrity, like continuing to integrate themselves. And
Yes.
so like they take risks
Yes.
and they mess it up and they put it back together and they hurt
Mhm.
somebody's feelings and they step in there and they own it and they move forward and they, fail
Yes.
themselves and they get themselves back up out of the dirt and they go again, like the kind of resiliency mindset. I'm
Mhm.
always going to be continuing to build this broad network of people that are very great, that are exceptional world experts in certain domains, but have this character to them that they can be trusted. So over the years to come, I'll be continuing to build this network of people so that that good people that produce great results can spend more time with each other. So we spend less time bitching about other people and the Kardashians and just
Yes.
people that don't
That's true.
matter. Just been good. So when you're 95 and you're on your deathbed, you look back and you just think, wow, I made other people's lives better and these people made my life better and I'm a rich person.
Wow. Wow, Adrian, what a
That's what I'm going
way
to be
to
doing.
put that. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like,
Yeah,
what a
man.
way to put that, because, like, living in integrity is such a key aspect of, how to make ourselves better and the world around us better. And we're
Yeah,
losing that. We need a bit more of that message. And
we do.
especially when it comes to leadership, to entrepreneurship, to business, to corporations, integrity
Hmm.
needs to be central to all of that. I love how you said
Yeah.
that, you know, spend time together, be better with each other, so we, stop being around, beating around the bush and just talking
Yeah.
about
Let's
you
get
all
to
this
it, man.
useless stuff. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I want to get this. I want to give this opportunity, of course. Talk to us a little bit about the Fire in the Desert show, perhaps, or the what you're going about, with anything that you have planned. Where can we connect
Sure.
with you? Where can we
Well,
find you?
if people want to connect, that show is going to come out probably in the next 3 months.
Wow.
We're just shaping up. We're getting everything
Hmm.
shaped up as we speak.
Hmm.
So you can be watching for that on YouTube. That's where it'll show up. And right now we have a podcast called the Naked Leadership Podcast, talking
Hmm.
about that the best leadership is vulnerable leadership. It's leading into the future, into taking
Wow.
risk, and then also
Hmm.
risk, leveraging for the sake of a future we want, and also doing it interpersonally. So it's always very vulnerable, i.e., naked leadership. So you can listen to that. If you want to
Hmm.
hear more of me, and my business partner, and another colleague of mine named Chad Brown, those two guys are brilliant. You can
Hmm.
follow me on Instagram, obviously Adrian.K on Instagram. If you
Hmm.
want to, if you're stateside, or even if you're in the Philippines and want to jump on a plane, we have, most of our work is in-house with companies. Once again,
Hmm.
coaching founders, building their teams, that kind of stuff. But then
Hmm.
from time to time, probably 5 or 6 this year, we put on these public trainings that anybody can come to.
Wow.
If you apply and we vet it with you and make sure it's the right opportunity for you, one's called the Revenant process.
The
We're
Reverend
recording this
Prophet.
mid-February. At the end of February, next weekend, we're going to be in Boise, Idaho. It's a 4-day deep dive leadership trainings around who you are as a person and your legacy that you're committed to having, and how do you generate the most amount of impact and meaning at the same time. So
Wow.
that's 4 days. It's world shaking for people, and it was for me. I
Wow.
went through it 15 years ago. I was a participant in the room. Now I get to co-train it. We've got one coming
Wow.
up late April in Los Angeles. You can go to
Mm-hmm.
wearerevenant.com. Closer to you, Josh, we have one in Honolulu. Um,
Oh,
in
cool.
June. You should come out to that one. So we are Revenant, REVENANT.com. Go check that out. We've got a training in Italy called Icon in early
Wow.
November. We've got a
Mhm.
leadership academy for those that really want to be a leader that sees the world from a coaching lens. That's in
Wow.
Los Angeles, August, September, October. So we're doing a
Mhm.
lot of stuff. We just want to, serve as many people as possible, help
Yes.
great people generate phenomenal results.
Mhm.
So network's always growing. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're part of my tribe, I'd love to get to know you and find a way to serve you.
Fantastic. Adrian, thank you so much for that. And, serving people, truly, truly, that is
Yeah.
what it all feels like, what you guys are doing, and what you have been preaching all your life is to,
Yeah, man.
have change agents for themselves, for people, for everyone around them. Adrian, thank you so much for the wisdom. Thank you so much for the insight. Um, I'd love to maybe have you around next time again, but, for our
Let's do it.
audience and listeners, check out what Adrian, everything that Adrian did put out there. Check out the Revenant Process is coming out in April. Check out his podcast. Check out the YouTube channel. Adrian, thank you so much for your time. And for everyone out there, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.